Who actually builds AUTOSAR? Is it the vehicle manufacturer, the company supplying the ECU, the microcontroller manufacturer, a basic software vendor, or AUTOSAR itself? The answer is that these are different roles, and understanding the difference will prevent a lot of confusion later in this course. Consider the automatic headlamp ECU from the previous lesson. One company may define what the vehicle function must do. Another may design and integrate the ECU. Another supplies the microcontroller. Another provides an AUTOSAR basic software implementation. Another provides the configuration tools. All of them can contribute to the same final ECU, but none of that means one of those companies is AUTOSAR. AUTOSAR itself is a global development partnership and standards ecosystem. Its current website describes a worldwide network of more than 350 partners. The key idea is collaboration. Vehicle manufacturers, suppliers, semiconductor companies, software companies, tool providers, and other organizations contribute different expertise to a common set of automotive software standards. There are therefore two ecosystems we need to separate. The first is the AUTOSAR Standards Development Ecosystem. That ecosystem determines how the AUTOSAR standards themselves evolve. The second is the Vehicle Project Ecosystem. That is where companies use AUTOSAR specifications, commercial software implementations, microcontrollers, tools, and project configuration to build an actual ECU. These two worlds overlap because many companies participate in both, but they are not the same thing. Let's begin with the vehicle project. Suppose a vehicle manufacturer wants an automatic headlamp feature. At the vehicle level, the OEM may define requirements such as when the headlamp should activate, which vehicle states affect the function, what diagnostics are required, and how the feature interacts with other systems. An OEM means original equipment manufacturer, the vehicle manufacturer. A Tier 1 may then be responsible for a complete ECU or subsystem. That can involve electronic hardware, software integration, application software, basic software configuration, diagnostics, communication configuration, and testing. But do not turn that into an absolute rule. The division of responsibility varies enormously between projects. An OEM may develop some application software internally. A Tier 1 may integrate software supplied by several other companies. Some manufacturers increasingly own large parts of their software platforms themselves. So think in responsibilities, not rigid company stereotypes. Next comes the semiconductor ecosystem. A microcontroller supplier provides the computing hardware on which the ECU runs. That affects processor architecture, memory, peripherals, communication controllers, and the hardware-facing software environment. In an AUTOSAR Classic project, microcontroller abstraction layer drivers are closely associated with those hardware peripherals. A semiconductor company may provide AUTOSAR-related drivers or integration packages for its device, depending on the commercial ecosystem and project. Then we have automotive software vendors. A project can obtain commercial implementations of AUTOSAR basic software rather than building the complete platform internally. Remember the distinction from Lesson 12. AUTOSAR defines specifications. A vendor implements relevant specifications in software. Those are not the same thing. Two vendors can provide different implementations of standardized AUTOSAR concepts. The project then configures and integrates the selected implementation for its ECU. Tool vendors are another major part of the ecosystem. AUTOSAR projects contain large amounts of configuration information. Software components, interfaces, network mappings, operating system configuration, basic software settings, and ECU descriptions all need engineering tools. Different companies provide development, configuration, generation, integration, simulation, and testing environments. This means the final ECU is usually not the product of one isolated developer writing every layer manually. It's an integration of engineering work from multiple sources. Now move from the ECU project back to the AUTOSAR partnership itself. Not every AUTOSAR partner has exactly the same participation rights. AUTOSAR currently uses several partnership levels. At the top are the core partners. Core partners have major responsibility for organizing, managing, and controlling the development partnership. Representatives of core partners participate in the highest governance structures, and the overall strategy and roadmap are defined at that level. As of this lesson, AUTOSAR lists 10 core partners. In January 2026, Denso, Huawei, and Vector Informatics joined the core partner group, reflecting how the partnership itself continues to evolve. Below the core level, AUTOSAR also has Premium Partner Plus. Premium Partner Plus was introduced to allow companies to participate more strongly in technical steering. A Premium Partner Plus contributes a representative into the project leader team in addition to substantial participation in standardization work. Then there are Premium Partners. Premium partners both use AUTOSAR standards and actively participate in defining them. They can cooperate in working groups and can take significant roles in standardization activity. Development partners also participate in defining and using AUTOSAR standards. AUTOSAR positions this level particularly as an opportunity for smaller companies and startups that want to contribute technically. Associate partners are different. Their primary role is to make use of released AUTOSAR standards rather than participate at the same level in developing the standards themselves. AUTOSAR also introduced Associate Lite. This provides access to a selected part of released AUTOSAR work for specific use cases rather than the full scope available to a normal associate partner. And AUTOSAR has an attendee category focused especially on universities and nonprofit organizations that want to collaborate and support the standardization community. Here is the important beginner warning. Core partner, premium partner, development partner, and associate partner are AUTOSAR partnership categories. They do not mean OEM, Tier 1, semiconductor supplier, or software vendor. Those are industry or project roles. A semiconductor company might be a premium partner. An OEM might be a core partner. A tool company can also participate deeply in the partnership. The two classification systems answer different questions. Partnership level asks, how does this organization participate in AUTOSAR? Project role asks, what is this organization delivering on this particular ECU or vehicle program? Now we can go one level deeper and ask how hundreds of organizations can actually create a technical standard together. They do not all sit in one giant meeting and write one specification. AUTOSAR uses an organizational structure. At the governance level, structures such as the Executive Board and Steering Committee handle strategy and organizational direction. The project leader team is responsible for the development of the AUTOSAR standards at the project management and technical decision level. Then much of the detailed standardization work happens through working groups. Different working groups focus on technical areas such as the runtime environment, basic software, communication, methodology, templates, platform architecture, and standardized interfaces. Experts from participating organizations bring knowledge from different areas of the automotive ecosystem. This is important because AUTOSAR has to work across organizational boundaries. And vehicle manufacturer understands vehicle architectures and product requirements. A semiconductor company understands hardware and peripheral constraints. A basic software company understands platform implementation. A tool vendor understands configuration and workflows. A Tier 1 supplier understands ECU integration. When those viewpoints contribute to common standards, the goal is to create interfaces and architectures that can work across the broader industry rather than only inside one company's internal ecosystem. Now, imagine a new AUTOSAR requirement is agreed and published. Does AUTOSAR then send every manufacturer a finished production ECU? No. The standard moves into the implementation ecosystem. A basic software vendor may implement the relevant specification. A semiconductor supplier may provide hardware-specific drivers. A tool vendor may support the new configuration elements. An OEM and its suppliers decide how the feature is used in a particular vehicle architecture. The ECU configures the software. Application developers add vehicle function behavior. Integration engineers combine the pieces. Test teams verify the result. That complete chain is the AUTOSAR ecosystem in practice. Specification, implementation, configuration, integration, verification. This also explains why two AUTOSAR projects can look different. They may use different microcontrollers, different commercial basic software, different configuration tools, different vehicle requirements, different suppliers. Yet they can still be based on the same standardized AUTOSAR concepts. AUTOSAR does not try to turn all those companies into one software company. It creates common technical contracts that allow a diverse industry to collaborate more systematically. Return one final time to our headlamp ECU. The vehicle manufacturer may define the feature requirement. A Tier 1 may integrate the body control ECU. A semiconductor company supplies the microcontroller. A software vendor provides an AUTOSAR basic software stack. A tool vendor supplies configuration tooling. Several of those companies may also participate in AUTOSAR working groups and contribute to future standards. The AUTOSAR specifications provide the common architectural framework connecting the ecosystem, but the production ECU is still engineered, configured, integrated, and tested by the project participants. If an interviewer asks, "Who develops AUTOSAR?" a strong answer should therefore have two parts. First, AUTOSAR standards are developed through an international partnership involving automotive manufacturers, suppliers, semiconductor, software, and tool organizations with different partnership levels and technical working groups. Second, a production AUTOSAR ECU is built by an automotive project ecosystem that implements and configures those standards using software, hardware, and tools from different organizations. Do not confuse the standard with the supplier. Do not confuse a partnership category with a project role, and do not assume one company builds every layer of an AUTOSAR ECU. Subscribe to keep following how AUTOSAR turns industry-wide standards into practical ECU engineering. Now that we understand who participates in the ecosystem, the next lesson asks what these organizations gain from using common standards. In Lesson 16, we will examine standardization and software reuse in much more practical detail.